Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free from Self-Sabotage Solutions collaboration. Tanner, I've got it right this time. It's good to
Yeah, you do.
have Tanner back on. Well, I'm back on Tanner's show. He's back on my show. Good to collaborate with you again, Tanner. It's been like we were doing these once a month there for a bit, and then it sort of just stopped. You and I have been on an
Yeah.
interesting sort of journey the last few months. Lots of things going on. We just spoke about off air for the last probably 20 minutes.
Mhm.
Good to have you back, Tanner. Today's topic of discussion for everyone out there, we are going to delve into the circus. Well, it was a circus that is the US political
Yep.
space. Now, I don't usually get political on my show, Tanner. I sort of stay away from that stuff, but I'm happy to give my perspective of what's going on in your country, Tanner. Welcome.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. I think it's an interesting one to talk about. Let me introduce myself or to talk real quick. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast, Nathan. Really excited. I always enjoy doing our talks together. And yeah, I was thinking that the subject for tonight would be good to talk about because I feel like this election is a little bit different with like some of the stuff they've been announcing, like what's going to happen. Now, if it's going to happen, we'll talk about our perspectives and what our opinions of that is. And um, I just think it's a really good thing to talk about, especially with like our truth movement. A lot of us are really super hardcore against the government, which is no surprise there. Like I myself am like barely like against the system in so many ways. But I recently had like a changing of perspective on like a shift of like thinking about things, and we'll talk about that. And just like I think that can be a powerful way for us to all shift the reality that we're in and move us towards something better.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about that. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to have that conversation today with you.
It's going to be an awesome conversation. Before we go there, Tanner, what have you been up to the last few months? What's been going on in Tanner world? A lot of yeah, we haven't done these for a while, so I thought I'd ask you what you been up to.
Yeah, just been working through a lot of personal stuff actually.
Yeah.
Getting ready for a new baby on the way, and
Oh,
uh,
you didn't
um,
mention that off air.
yeah, we got to, yeah. I meant to say that. I thought I told you a while ago. Yeah, we
You
got a new
might
baby.
have.
Like end of December, January sometime. So,
Oh, that's awesome, man.
actually, sorry, my bad. Actually, end of January, like February, like early February. So,
A boy or
yeah,
a
it's really
girl?
exciting. We keep you. We don't look. We haven't had any doctor's visits. Everything is going to be all at home. We're going to do a
Love it.
free birth. So it's, yeah, free birth. No doctors,
What
no doulas, no
inspired you to do
midwives.
the free birth? Because I've dabbled in.
Um,
I had a guest on my podcast a couple of weeks
mhm.
ago talking about it. So what sort of? Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, our first experience, we didn't want to be anything with the system at all.
Yep.
And we had a midwife, right? And our midwife, like we did some research. She seemed like a pretty good option. She's like, she was like outside the system, like what we had thought. But what ended up happening is like towards like one of our very last like meetings with her before baby came, she said, "Oh, I felt something weird like on your stomach, and I can't tell what it is. I recommend you go get like an ultrasound." Like she was like really worried about it. So we said, "Okay, sure. I guess we'll do it." Like we were really against ultrasounds, but we did it because we were worried about the baby and we trusted her, like her opinion. And then we go and get it right, and the doctor instantly, like this random doctor, like we don't even know, comes into the room right after it, like like scares the shit out of us. Like, you need to have a C-section right now, otherwise her and the baby are in danger. They said there was low amniotic fluid, and like they were literally saying like we had to have a C-section. Like they were trying to like take her like on a cart and move her to go get a C-section like that very moment. And we're like, no, 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 no. Like what? Like, and we were just thinking we were gonna have a like at home birth the second before that. So it was just like hit us like super hard, and like of course like in those kind of moments you're not really thinking straight like fully. So we want to take some time to just kind of think about it and grieve it. But we also felt like we were rushed. So we called our midwife, talked to her what her opinion was, and she said, I don't feel comfortable, facilitating your guys' birth. So she recommended doing the C-section. And honestly, we wish we would have done more research. But we ended up doing the C-section and just got hit by like a whole bunch of medical bills. And just like the C-section is just a horrible experience. Like
Yeah.
you literally like they cut the woman open
Yep.
through like 8 layers of skin and like muscle and abs, and like it's on top of recovering from birthing a baby. you're also recovering from major surgery of your whole body getting cut open.
Yep.
So it's like just like it's, and that's what they push a lot of women into, right?
Mhm.
And so we had to go through this experience, and I felt so bad seeing my wife have to go through it, but luckily we made it through. So we're trying to look at the positives of that part. But after doing some research, because we just had a weird feeling about like what we were told, like after everything, like just like an inquisitive kind of mind, my wife did some research and she found that like a lot of times when they says low amniotic fluid, it's actually either the ultrasound machine is wrong or necessarily like not necessarily actually like a matter of safety. They just kind of push you into it. And, like that's how they do it with the system. Like they scare you into doing things that you wouldn't normally do because they use like the fear tactics, and so
Yep.
they pushed us into that. We felt like we were pushed into that, even from the midwife who we thought was with outside the system. And so like this is like actually like where some like of like my own distrust from the government and the system comes from, where I felt we were pushed into something that was so harmful to like my wife's body. Like she's still
Yeah.
recovering from that. Like she still has a major scar on her from that, and so like so my wife that burst my wife into going like a whole like emotional thing and like me too, but then she started doing research into what's called like the free birth society, which is the society of women who've come together to talk about how women can naturally give birth. They know exactly what they need to do if they trust their bodies. The
Correct.
problem is that when you think about like an animal giving birth, right? They don't get surrounded by a bunch of people. They go to a dark corner and they find someplace comfortable and they go there and they give birth in that dark, comfortable place away from a bunch of people. Where women today's day and age go into like a bright room into a doctor's office, which who feels comfortable in a doctor's office? Let's be real.
Mm.
Then you have like stuff like shit, like my wife had like needles like in her body while she was sitting there, before giving birth, right? Like this just doesn't. It's not like an environment that's going to allow you to be feel comfortable. So I didn't think we were going to get into this conversation, but who knows? Uh, so I think like it's just not like an environment that you're going to feel comfortable in, and so that is, we've done a lot of research. Let's put it there. Like we've done a lot of research. We've been through our own shit, and we determined like we don't want anything to do with the system with our child's birth. And of course, there's risk for having a baby. There's risk for anytime you have a baby, whether you're in a hospital or not. Some
Yep.
argue that there's higher risk in the hospital than
Some people
outside the
argue there's higher
hospital.
risk outside the
Yeah,
hospital.
yeah, exactly. So there's both sides of it. But at the end of the day, like we're making our own informed choice. And my wife is claiming back her power, and taking it away from the system, not saying like, hey, I need outside assistance to be able to give birth. She knows that she was born to be able to give birth. And that's a powerful
That is
thing.
powerful.
So
And
yeah, so that's what we've been doing, working on getting ready for baby.
thank you for sharing all that, man. You got personal, it's great. But
Yeah, we went
nah,
hard.
that's really awesome, man, And that's
Hmm.
what we all should be doing. We all should be doing, and that would tie into the US politics stuff. We should be all
Yep.
doing our own research, our own homework, using our discernment and trusting our own innate body, our own innate system of
Hmm.
what's right for you. And funny, I filmed a walk and talk today talking about that very thing that we hand our power away to all these influences, the media,
Oh
the
yeah.
doctors, the TV, all
Hmm.
these things. You know, it's like we know what's best. We know what's right for us. But it's that we take the advice, we take the pressure from the external when we all have it internal. And oh yeah, I spoke about that earlier, so it's interesting that we sort of bring it up today. But as we circle into the US politics, it's the same thing. You know, we're handing our power away to go and vote for these people on an energetic level.
Hmm.
That's what we're doing to have two cuts of the same cloth. You know, they're exactly the same, just that they're working for the same they're working for the same people. Well, that's if you believe they're people. And it's the same thing, just that one
Hmm.
party is worse than the other one. But it's the
Yep.
same organization behind that. So, but yeah, from what I've seen, the US is an interesting sort of
Yeah.
place right now, Tanner. I
Hmm.
feel like there's a lot coming in the next few years for your country, good and bad and
Yeah.
ugly.
Yeah.
How's the last little bit been? Well, you live there, so how's it been?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think from seeing like Trump win the election, I honestly was hopeful.
Mm,
Um, like when I heard that he was going to be like announcing like JFK or sorry, not JFK, RFK Jr. as like the Department of Health, and like they were said they're going to like try to like audit the government and stuff like that. I was definitely like those are things that I want. So when I heard them, I was like, hell yeah, that is awesome. Like I never thought they would even say that, let alone will they actually do it though? That's the question. And
yeah.
it is interesting because like they talk about like, Trump was serving McDonald's to people. And just recently I saw a picture of like RFK Jr., Trump, Elon Musk, and like Trump's son. They were all eating McDonald's on the airplane. And it's like, well, that is an interesting message. Why are you guys choosing to eat that garbage like even like RFK Jr. said like they cook with shitty like oils, and beyond that, even what quality is their meat, what quality is that stuff. But I think it's even any talk about the garbage within our food supply is a good thing. It brings more awareness to people. And as we just talked about like before with what I was sharing with my wife and stuff in the pregnancy, like my distrust for government is pretty high. Like I don't trust the government very much. And I didn't vote this election. I voted in previous elections, but this one I chose not to. But thinking about it now, I'm not sure. I may actually vote in the next election, and the reason why is I've been trying to change my thinking towards these things because the more I've learned about like how powerful we are as humans and how powerful our thoughts and our beliefs are, right? Think about just how many of us who are more awake and who are more aware and how powerful we all are together. And we're all thinking that this is a sham. We're all thinking that this is, like a dupe, that they're all going to try to trick us and do something horrible to us. What if we're actually bringing that into reality with our own thoughts? And, I kind of get goosebumps right now just even thinking about it. Like, what if that's what they want us to do? Be thinking like we get so caught up in all this bullshit that's going on that we're literally using all of our thoughts to think about how horrible this is going to be, how bad this is going to be for us. When what if instead we just like, this is out of my control. I don't control who's up there on the government, but I'm going to choose to believe the best thing possible is going to come out of this. And that, even if something maybe less than ideal for me happens, it's going to happen for a reason that's going to lead to something greater. That's going to lead to something good, right? And that's why I've been trying to think about things just in general, like what happened with the C-section, and like, we got hit with some medical bills pretty bad, and we've been dealing with like the financial stress of that even to this day from 2.5 years ago, from just the medical system debt, like just it's just ridiculous. We even had insurance, and like still we got hit with just like a large sum of like money that just I don't think was necessarily. I don't think it's fair for anyone to go through with that. Oh, you have a baby, and also you just get hit with like 30+ thousand dollars worth of charges. Like it's just like so. I'm trying to think of that even like that debt as like, hey, that's less than ideal for me, but I'm going to see it as something good. Maybe it's going to show me that hey, I can pay for that. I'm more than abundant, or I can show and prove to myself that I'm able to pay that all off and do whatever. So that's where I'm trying to think about some of those harder situations, especially with the politics, because I've found myself in those situations where I just like nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to change, and just like the negative Nancy about everything within politics. And don't get me wrong, like a lot of us have a reason to feel that, but I just think it's an interesting perspective and interesting thing to think about is like how powerful we are and how powerful we can actually, just like even just like quantum physics with like the double slit experiment, right? They like prove that like just us like being around like and noticing like a particle can change how it's functioning within the world, meaning that like we're influencing matter on like even this the smallest level, just just being in a spot, right? Just being there to perceive something will change how something's functioning. So just think about how powerful our thoughts are, how powerful our beliefs are, and how powerful all of us are together.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of that, Nathan?
Well, as a collective, we all are powerful. But if the majority of people are watching the TV and they're putting a story out there
Oh
saying
yeah.
in 2050 there's going to be less people here, well,
Mhm.
that's like a spell they're casting on you. So what they're making you do from that story or from that whatever is that they're putting that inside your psyche so that you believe it. So then you'll have
Uh-huh.
everyday Joe walk out there in Australia and say, "Oh, did you watch CBS or Channel 9 News last
Mhm.
night? They were talking about in 2050 there's gonna be less people." And then they're like, "Oh, oh,
Mhm.
oh." Then the fear kicks in and all these emotions kick in. They feed off of that.
Mhm.
So they're putting that story out there for you to believe. So then because they know how we operate, how our mind works, how we work,
Mhm.
if we believe that, all of us collectively, then that's gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
So it's the same thing with your
Mhm.
life with all of this stuff. If you believe something's going to happen enough, then that's going to happen. Whether it's positive or negative, doesn't matter what it is. But if you have control over your mind
Mhm.
and your thoughts, then you can bring in those good things. If you don't have control over your mind, and I'll reiterate that, if you don't have
Mhm.
control over your mind, then you'll be easily influenced by the news, by the mainstream music, by all and politics, by all these things. Then they'll put things out there, and you believe it. It will eventually happen. And I
Mhm.
believe that in our community, they flipped it. There's a
Mhm.
lot of fear. There's a lot of stuff inside the truth
Oh yeah.
community. They're scared of the Agenda
Mhm.
2030. They're scared of Klaus Schwab and all these people. It's
Mhm.
like, well, it's the same group, but they've infiltrated both sides of the fence
Mhm. Yeah.
through fear.
Mhm.
Because they know people are going to wake up to all this garbage. So how can they
Oh yeah.
infiltrate that? Wow.
Mhm.
Wow, where you be scared of the spraying of the skies. Be scared of that. Or be scared of the supermarket food that we spray. Be
Mhm.
scared of the medical juice of the last 4 years. But then on the other
Mhm.
side of the fence, be scared of those people that are healthy. Be scared of those people that don't that take care of
Mhm.
themselves. What they're doing is they're manipulating humanity.
Oh yeah. Both sides.
Both sides.
Mhm.
And there shouldn't even be both sides.
I know it should be.
We should all
Yeah.
be together as one. Because if we come together as one collectively, as we said, how powerful we are, if we all come together collectively as one and stop going to work and turn all this shit off, then we aren't giving them our energy. They feed off of our energy. What energy am I talking about? Well, they're feeding off your eyeballs being on that screen for a start. They're feeding off your ears listening for a start. But then they're feeding off and getting you to make a choice that you don't necessarily want to make, but they'll make you do it. Because you'll think it's okay to make that choice. You'll think it's safe, but in actual fact, it's not.
Mhm.
So
Injecting
if
poison.
we can understand how this manipulation MK Ultra mind control works,
Mhm.
just switch off the TV. That's the
Yeah.
first step. Switch off the mainstream music. Stop listening to Diddy. Stop listening to
Mhm.
Beyonce and Jay Z and all these people. Stop
Yeah.
listening to these people. Just turn their music off because they're feeding off of your energy. You're giving them your energy by listening to their stuff,
Mhm.
by watching the news, by watching all these things. Just push the off button because the more people that push the off button are less eyeballs and less energy to them. That that will stop. We have the power. We've always had the power, Tanner.
Oh yeah.
Because the last 4 years wouldn't have happened if we all banded together and said no. We all banded together and say no, but a different outcome. There's power in us
Mhm.
saying no. And if more and more people stop feeding this system, then we can let it crumble. But we have attachments to the system. Oh, the money. Oh, this. Oh, that. Oh, but what if I can't pay this? Well, if we all collectively stop going to work, no one's paying a damn thing. There's no money left. Well, there's money left, but we're not like no one's paying anything. So
Mhm.
if we all stopped, where's the money go? Back to us. It can be so easy. And then
Yeah.
that system will crumble because there's no money in circulation. Everyone's holding on to it. Then it's like, okay, what can we do now? Well, let's build something better because we can all build things. We can all do things. But if you remove government from society, not everyone can rule themselves. Not everyone can govern themselves because they're so used to being programmed and being manipulated since they were kids walking into the school system. Because what happens at school? You were told what to do
Yep.
every single day. Asking permission to be free is another one. Can I go to the toilet, miss? Can I get a drink, miss? Can I whatever, miss? Then you step out of that school system into the real world, society, and then you have an authority figure on your TV standing on a podium doing the exact same thing, telling you what to do. Oh, you can't do 50 k's on that road today. We're gonna lower the speed limit now. You can only do 40. So you were conditioned to comply and follow in school. You leave school and you're still following. You're still complying, and you're still being told to do every day by your boss, by the government, by all of these influences. What if you didn't have those influences influencing you? Can you influence yourself? Can you govern yourself? Can you take control of your own life? Unfortunately, not many people will be able to do that. Hence
Yep.
why this is all still going.
Mhm.
That's my
Well, I mean,
that's my spin.
oh yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why the school system was created, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's created to create more people who were relying on the system, so
Yeah.
that they had the system, right? Like,
So it feeds
it's a
the
self-perpetuating system. Yeah,
Yeah. And my spin
exactly.
on the US politics, Tanner, from
Yeah.
watching from afar from Australia and then
Hmm.
going on that journey in 2020 and seeing what these people do behind the scenes and go, oh, this is not great. To
Yeah.
then seeing, well, what I've seen over the last few months in terms of US politics is you got Harris standing over here and you got Trump over here. Now, I believe that I think all of this would have happened a lot quicker if Kamala got in. Like I think she was all for the destruction of the USA and the destruction of the world, really.
Oh yeah,
Because if the US falls,
definitely.
we all fall. And I thought she was all for that. So if she had a got in, would have amplified a lot of things quicker. I think
Mhm.
what they're going to do now with Trump being in there is it's gonna slowly fall, step by step, but it's going to be cushioned. The blow will be cushioned. I do think I do think Trump is out there as a light figure. You know, there's
Mhm.
darkness and light. I still think Trump's is light, but I don't think it's real light. It's like a fake light. Like I'll come out here and I'll say this and do this, but in actual fact, behind the scenes, the people that are feeding him are
Mhm.
probably gonna. It's still gonna happen. I still
Yeah.
think America's going to fall, but it's not going to be as bad because
Well, so
once
here's what.
America falls, that's when you know there's change because America needs to fall, Tanner. I feel.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, do you think you like America falling, and I guess really what like does America falling really even mean, right? Is it just like the
Well, I
banking
think the
system
stock market has
collapsing?
a bit to do with that.
Yeah, the banking system collapse.
Yeah,
Like honestly, like I'm actually hoping that the whole banking system is destroyed and removed and replaced with something where they're not printing infinite money. Because
yeah.
obviously that's going to affect the whole world, right? Because like the
Mm.
dollar affects everyone else's money. I mean, like when I heard that they were going to look at like and auditing the government, that's obvious. Like, why the fuck aren't people doing that already? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so like these changes, like everything that like I've heard are good things, are things that I want. I'm hopeful that they're going to happen.
Mm.
If they're going to happen or not, honestly, it's not going to affect me.
I
Well,
saw an
I
interesting
mean,
photo the other day.
it will possibly
Yeah.
affect me, but really at the end of the day, what I guess what I want to say is like I'm doing the things I need to do on my end to help protect myself and my family. No matter what happens, I'm going to make sure that we're going to be good. But I'm still hopeful for the future. I'm still hopeful because like think about like how many of us are awake and how many people are aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
There has to be some people within the government who knows what's going on and don't like it either and want to fight the same thing,
Mm.
right? How much they can actually change it within this whole corrupt beast of synchronicities and corruption and layers of stuff going on. I don't know, right?
Mm.
But I'm still hopeful that there are some people who are willing to make changes and will want to make changes
Yeah.
within this world. Because I mean, I mean, I feel like we have to have that hope. Like, otherwise, it's just like all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Like then we're just bringing more of that into the world, right? I don't
And
know.
I saw a photo the other day of
Mhm.
RFK Jr. Now this guy's ripped. This guy takes care of himself.
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
look, if you circle back to 4 years ago and you had the health figures standing up there on the
Oh,
podiums,
yeah, yeah,
they weren't the
exactly.
healthiest people getting out
Hmm.
there. So I
Yeah,
think that's a good thing that there's more people that are take. I still believe that he probably will do some good in there.
yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that. Given that he's been so outspoken for the last few years about medical experiments and all this stuff. He's ripped, this guy. He's like 70 and
Yeah,
he's ripped. He is
yeah.
jacked
I
up.
saw I saw that too.
Yeah. So it's like, that's a good thing because there's
Mhm.
someone out there. It's like, okay, this guy takes care of himself. I I don't think he'll be eating Maccas now. Come on.
So he'll be what?
Don't think he'd
Oh,
be eating
McDonald's.
Maccas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Like it's just like a weird obsession with McDonald's. Maybe like that's like their way of trying to connect with like because a lot
The
of
every
people eat McDonald's,
Yeah.
and so they're trying to make people think that they're like the normal person. I don't know,
Like
like through like
if
subconscious, like
you're like
through like
him,
a
yeah.
like subliminal messages, kind of. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah. And if
maybe
you
it's not
know
even
what's
real
going on,
McDonald's.
if you
Yeah,
know
I don't
what's
know.
going on, you ain't eating that garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
feel like they
yeah.
have to know what's going on with that.
Mm.
So I don't know. But also, I
I
also
yeah.
know that like, hey, if you treat your body, I think Paul Chek used to always say this, like the 80-20 rule. Treat your body 80% of the time well, 20% of the time if you're not able to do it, if if you have to eat something that may not be as healthy, your body can protect you. Your body can take care of you because you took care of it. And I mean, just living testament that so many of us are alive now today, despite all the poisoning and all the stuff happening within our food and our water and stuff like that is amazing and just shows us how like resilient we are.
Mm.
Oh, that was something else that they announced. Like he said he was going to look at fluoride in the
Yeah.
water systems, and I was like, "What?" Which that was really like, I was like really happy about that because right now
It's a
I mean, but the question is, would I even still trust the water supply if they
Wow.
did that?
Well,
Probably
that's the
not.
thing. That's the thing because there's not just the fluoride. There's
Yeah,
heavy metals and
it's
chlorine as
yeah,
well. So it's like
pharmaceutical
that's
drugs,
great. Take the
chlorine.
fluoride out, but you've still got other chemicals in that water and heavy metals that are no good for us. So it's like that's a good
Yep,
start. But
yep.
it's like everyday Joe out there, it's like there's more in your water than just fluoride.
It's definitely a good start. I feel like it's like progression, right? It's like not
Yeah.
perfection, progression. It's like one step forward. Even just like a reduction in like the amount of toxins in someone's life can drastically improve their health,
Yeah.
right? Someone just like stops drinking sodas, they'll probably be way healthier, right? Just from like that alone, and they're not even doing anything else. So like I think like every step forward is going to be a good thing for us, and I'm really hopeful for it for my son. Like that's actually where I was really most hopeful for, and like where I'm really thinking about because like of course like I know my stuff, I can read the ingredients, like I'm already aware of all that stuff, but like having to teach my son all that, like, and of course I'm going to teach him that stuff, but just kind of as like I want I'd be awesome to be able to grow like have him be raised up in a world where you don't walk in the grocery store and like the majority of the stuff is just
Yeah.
toxic garbage, right? That you wouldn't want to eat. Like you shouldn't have to like read every like ingredient to see like, hey, should I be putting this in my body or not? Like, sure, I'm all for freedom of choice, but like that's like putting poisons into food. That's just no one wants that choice. Like no one wants to be poisoned. Like
No.
that's no one wants that choice, right? So, like it's just ridiculous to me that this is even happening within our society. But I mean, that's why a lot of us don't trust the government.
Yep. But in
So I
actual
think,
fact,
yeah, yeah,
you know how I say the universe is a mirror? I'm just going to pose a question. Do you think
yeah,
our lack of trust is projected because we don't trust ourselves?
could be. Yeah. I mean, it's
Because if
interesting.
we
Oh,
trust ourselves, then we don't really need to trust anyone else but us.
yeah,
I was posing that question.
it's true though. No, yeah,
Because, you
self
know, I was
trust.
in the gym during all the US stuff, Tanner, and you know, a lot of people watching the TV, and you can see it in their faces. They're like this mind control program of what they like of how they project Trump as this bad guy and da da da
Yep.
da. He probably is. Like he's an elite, remember? So who
Mhm.
knows? But
Yep.
the fact that you had these celebrities endorsing the other side, and then you had once the result came out, the things I was seeing from your celebrities, these bullshit stories of, oh, I had to put my kid to bed last night and reassure them that the world's going to be okay because TRUMP is going to destroy it. It's
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like, come on.
hmm it's like the stories that we tell ourselves, right? Like so often, like the stories that we're telling ourselves is creating this crazy narrative within our mind and within our own worlds,
But
right? We're
because
telling
we
ourselves,
have all the power
horrible.
and because we're like because those elite feed off of our energy that we give them, that you're
Yep.
giving them, not your people listening and
Yeah.
watching,
Right.
that that a bullshit story like that that you can see the plane lie straight through it, they'll believe it and be like, oh, this is going to be really bad because LeBron James couldn't put his kid to sleep. It's like, how can you not be so sure of your own self and
Yep.
your own discernment that you're going to believe what LeBron James has to say? A, he's a basketballer. And
Mhm.
seriously, I don't think he really care about this anyway. He's just getting paid to be like, just give Carmelo a shout out. But it's like,
Yep.
why? Like, like, if how do we get to a point where we can't trust our own innate human potential and trust ourselves that we're going to read all this crap and watch all this stuff and trust that?
Because we're not taught that. Our society
Correct.
teaches us not to trust ourselves, to trust the authority figure, to trust the government,
The
to trust
celebrity.
outside of
Da da
ourselves,
da da. Yeah.
right?
But the thing is, Tanner, is what I want to reiterate is that we're handing so much of our power away.
Yep, we are.
Like it's not just with the vote. It's not just
Yep.
with supporting who you're
hmm
supporting. Like even look, even going to these games and listening to these people is still handing some of your power away. You know?
Yeah. I mean, well, what I can say is I think there's two things, right? Like I don't like go and like listen to like all the speeches and all like I don't watch the news. I do some. I usually listen to like an independent journalist maybe talk about something. So it's kind of like I can make like a educated, informed decision if I am going to vote, or at least I know like what's going to kind of happen or what people are talking about. Um, which I can definitely understand. Like you're definitely giving some of your energy to that.
Mm.
There's no doubt about that, right? But there's comes back to what I was saying at the beginning, where it's like is it all doom and gloom if you give your energy to this? Is it actually a horrible thing, a negative, horrible thing that's
Mm.
gonna destroy your life just because you gave energy to it? Right? I don't know if you've ever heard this guy named Bashar, whether you believe in him or not, there's this guy like who channels
Yeah,
this entity
I've
named
watched him
Bashar.
on.
And
Mm.
he talks about some things, right? Most of the stuff that he talks about, I agree with a lot of it. And he talked about how like you create your like we all have our own like realities, and every time like we make a decision or our beliefs and stuff, we can actually shift our like own timeline into different realities, right? So like that's what I've been trying to change my perspective on like the whole politics thing and like the whole government thing as well, because like I don't want more of that in my life, like, and that's it's a hard part because like I don't trust the government at the same time. It's like it's less than ideal to go down that route, but at the same time, I also want to not bring more of that into my life, more of that negativity, more of that. So I'm trying to think about like, hey, this thing is happening. I could get a good experience out of it or a bad experience out of it.
Yeah.
I could get something good out of it or something bad about out of it based on what I believe is going to happen out of it. Like I can take something good out of it if I want, or I can take something bad out of it if I want. And like, I think it really depends on like what you're thinking about that thing.
But
There's also like intention, right?
you're still
Yeah.
questioning, you're still
Hmm.
asking yourself these
Oh yeah.
questions. I'm talking about the
Yep.
ones that are just blindly doing it and
Yep.
not knowing anything behind it or what's going
Hmm.
on and not even
Agreed.
asking those questions. What we need to
Hmm.
do is we need to get people to be more like what you're doing and
Yeah.
just, you know, using discernment and also
Hmm.
asking and posing questions. Is that right? I reckon that's right. That's
I,
yeah.
I
Because
think that's some.
you're just
Yeah.
questioning things. You're not
I
gonna
think
just, yeah,
I think that's part of also why I got a little more hopeful when I heard like the announcement, like, hey, RFK Jr. is going to be the head health department head, and like Elon Musk is going to be part of like the Department of Government Efficiency, and he's going to audit the government and stuff. Because like even just talking about those things makes it more aware, like it just brings it to the forefront of people's minds, right? Like they
yeah,
could have not said anything about that, and it wouldn't have been on anyone's mind at all. But since they talked about it, they brought it up, and it's put out to everyone within America, and let's be real, the world, almost everyone in the world probably has heard that RFK Jr. is going to be there, and Elon Musk is going to be part of the Doge and whatever. Um, that's putting into the world. Hey, there's government corruption, which I think everyone knows that. Hey,
yeah,
there's the government. The taxes are not getting spent the right way. Hey, there's poison in our foods. Hey, there's questions around vaccines. Like, hey, there's fluoride in the water. Some people who don't even know that there's fluoride in the water, but like, hey, fluoride in the water, why is that a bad thing? And then they may go down, a little thing to go research on that. So, like, that's one, like, just like the COVID thing, like, that was a horrible thing, like a horrible experience, and like it sucks that it had to happen, but something good came out of it. More people are aware. More people are coming aware of it. More people are starting to wake up. More and more people are starting to talk about
yeah,
vaccines than ever before, right? So like it's just so hard to say like something's bad or something's good. And that's also where I'm thinking about like, is someone actually bad or someone good? Like, is Trump bad or good? Or can someone even be considered bad or good? Is it, or is it like a gray line? Like, or is everyone like in the middle, right? Does everyone like, I've done some things in my life that I'm not proud of that I probably wouldn't say were good things to do, but does that make me a bad person? Am I that, am I stuck with that on my, like on myself forever because I did that one thing? Or can I change myself? Can I change going forward? Can I, define myself new? And that's a good question for all of us because I think all the, especially like people like in the truth movement, have done a lot of the work on ourselves and have gone through the shitty stuff that we've gone
a lot
through. And
haven't
like,
though.
you know, yeah, sure, a lot of people haven't done it, but a lot of people probably are going to face that at some point here.
I think
And,
so.
I'm going to start to realize that, hey, like, maybe not everyone's just good or bad. Maybe it's not all just like black and white like that. Like it's not all red or blue, right?
Mm,
It's not all Democrat and Republican because realistically, there's no one who is Democrat or Republican. Everyone's in the fucking middle or some
yeah,
variation, right? They created two differences and put people into these boxes, but you can't fit
yeah,
people into a box. Everyone's different. Everyone has different beliefs, right? It
yeah.
doesn't work that way.
And the
So,
simple question to ask
mhm,
is ask yourself. Like, don't listen to the news, don't listen to us. Well, listen to us, but don't listen to us and
yeah.
take our opinion on. Be like, well, what's your opinion? Like, what's true to me? Do I think a certain way and own that? Be like, if you don't think Trump's good, then fine. If you don't, if
Yep.
it's like, but don't be easily influenced by these other things. Just influence yourself and have that dialogue. Ask yourself those questions. Is this true to me? What's my opinion outside of all of this stuff that I'm
Mhm.
consuming? Just turn it all off and just sit with yourself and go, well, what do I feel about it? And then you're having that connection with yourself too. And I said to you earlier, I said a lot of people in the truth community, you know, will go down the rabbit holes as we do, and then they'll project it out onto the world that everyone's bad, everyone's a gatekeeper, everyone's this,
Mhm.
everyone's a shill, all this stuff. It's like, well, you're still not trusting yourself. So this is just a game. We're all playing a game
Mhm.
here. And to play the game, we still need to do that work on ourselves. So yes, it's great that you've gone in the rabbit holes and you sort of know what's going on. But
Mhm.
those truths that you've uncovered from the world are going to be reflected back onto you. You need to go down that path now of your own truths, of your own life, of your own
Mhm.
stuff, and uncover those truths that exist within you. Because the best way to fight the system is A, get the system out of you. So stop drinking the water and
Mhm.
drinking the alcohol and watching the porn and paying for the OnlyFans. Awesome, good start. But the second thing you can do is get healthy and strong.
Mhm.
They're your two things
Yep.
you can instantly do tomorrow and start that journey off. But then there's more to it. So mentally prepare yourself. Okay, how are you going to mentally prepare yourself? Well, you might have some demons when you start going to the gym. You might have that mental thing of, oh, you know, you're building that mental resilience and that mental strength. And then the flow on effect's huge because once you start uncovering those truths that exist within you, it creates a ripple. The ripple is huge
Yep.
because the way you've changed and the way you've grown will impact someone else. And then that person will be
Mhm.
like, oh, what? They'll ask you questions. What do you do? What did you do? How did you do it? And then that's the ripple because then that person will start their journey. The seed's planted.
Yep.
The ripple's huge. If you can uncover the truths that exist within you and shine that light out there in the world, it does change. Because those around you start to change, you start to change, your
Mhm.
perception changes. The universe is a mirror. If
Yep.
there are truths in the world that we need to uncover, we'll uncover them. But there's truths that exist within you equally as much that you need to uncover and open up that box and go on the journey. Because once we all start going on that journey, that's the ripple that creates the whole thing. We can open
Yep.
up the world's Pandora's box by opening up our own. So if you have
Mhm.
stuff that you haven't dealt with for 40 years, go over to that box and open it up and deal with it. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to the world. It's not just you that's doing it. You're doing it for everyone else
Mhm.
here because then
Yep.
that creates the ripple. You know,
Mhm.
there's been some really deep, dark stuff that's gone on in this world the last probably 400 years, but that stuff's gone on within you too.
Mhm.
Because once you start to remember that you're a soul having a human experience and your soul's gone through some of this stuff as well, then you've opened up the Pandora's box to walk the path. You keep
Mhm.
walking that path, the whole world will change because you've changed.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think
So
that's
we
really
can
powerful.
stop. We can stop hating Trump. We can stop hating Harris. We can stop
Mhm.
hating all the shills that are. Who? What even is a shill? But a lot
Yeah.
of people get labeled as shills around here. It's like,
Yeah.
why? Because
Mhm.
they walking a path that you're resisting to walk?
Yep.
Ask yourself that question.
It's true. I think that's a really good point. I like going inwards and focusing on yourself and just,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter that much, right? Like,
No.
yeah, like it, things will change, things will happen, but
The
if
thing
you work on
is,
yourself and take care of
mm,
yourself,
thing is,
things will
they
go good.
don't want you doing that. So
Yep.
there's another influence here.
Yep.
Society says don't go there. Keep your tears to yourself. Don't cry. Don't ask for help. Society says that. That's a societal program. And that's not even true to 100% of the people that are out here. Like all
Mhm.
of us came here to do something and be something great. But society said you shouldn't do that. You're not powerful enough. You're weak. Your trauma says that you can't. It's like we just allow all these things to influence us. Put them over there. Go over to Pandora's box, open it up, and see what you get.
Yep.
Because the system
Agree.
manufactured you that way. As we all say, you're not born like that. You come out of the womb in the light, full of pure love. But then the system, all these things happen to us after we exit the womb. We get influenced through our ears and through our eyes. For some of us, we don't even get to be in our mother's arms. We get taken away to another room. We get injected with God knows how many medical experiments, and then some of us get that bloody get a small fraction of our genitals cut off. Now that is trauma. We
Mhm.
weren't born like that. We were manufactured that way.
Yep.
Because, as you said with the pregnancy, Tanner, when a baby comes out, they need to be with their mother. What does that system
Mhm.
do? It takes the baby away from the mother into another room
Yep.
to get medically experimented on, and for the men, I'm just going to say it, get fucking circumcised.
Yep.
Now, that is a trauma.
Hmm.
For me, I had to go back to that and work on that and be like, well, I wasn't born that way.
Hmm.
I was manufactured that way. That made me a
Yeah.
little bit angry, actually. That's obviously something I will go and I'll go and work through because I'm aware of my emotions. But that brought out something in me just then that was bubbling away there, Tanner, live on air.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're manufactured that way. We're not born to
Hmm.
have our genitals cut off.
Nope.
We're not born to get 35 to 40 experiments in our left and right arms as soon as we leave the womb. Like, look at the animals. When they give,
Hmm.
but we're the same. When they give birth, we're like, who's nurturing that the mother? But oh no, we split that up. They go over there. The mother gets cut off somewhere else, and they don't see each other for a bit. That's not okay. So the home birth you're
Nope.
doing is great. But yeah, that brought up something there. But it's true though, right?
Yeah, no, true. I mean, that's something like we were very aware of since we had to go. Well, since we thought we had to go in the hospital at the time,
Mm.
you know, we were very aware of. We actually had like a piece of paper we brought in and we gave to all the nurses, made sure they all saw it. It says, we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this. This is our plan. This is exactly what we want. And we had like a list of demands, and they
Yeah.
luckily they followed it.
But
They were surprised.
people
Yeah,
blindly don't do that.
yeah. Then they like oh, let's talk about like some of the stuff like so like the vitamin K shot, which is like they try to scare you so much. They say your baby's gonna die
Yeah.
like if you don't get it. Like pretty much like they make you watch this horrible video. You have to watch it, and it's just like just stuff you don't want to see. It's like a fear-inducing video, right?
Yeah.
Like if you haven't done
Mind
your
control.
research before, exactly. If you haven't done your research before that, you're gonna say, yeah, okay, let's do it because you're just scared at that point,
Yeah.
right? Like it's and that's what they do with like all this stuff, like the vitamin K, the eye goop, the like the vaccines, the circumcision. They try to scare you with all that stuff. So we were just ready for it, and we knew what to say, and we had our sheet, and we said nope.
Yep.
Unfortunately, my son wasn't able to go to like lay in my wife right away because of the C-section.
Mm.
So I just try to be there for him as much
But
as I could
that's
until
the
she was
system though.
done. And
Yeah.
exactly that's the system, yeah. And so like, and sometimes like you just gotta do the best with what you got, right? Like,
Yeah.
do I wish things would have happened differently? Yeah. But now I know what I know, and we can do things differently this
But
time. And
you and
we're
you
fine.
and your
Yep.
wife,
Mm,
Madeline, being more conscious and being more aware will
yep.
help him in the long run anyway.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's
And
not
maybe
ruined.
on a
He's not
soul level,
horribly damaged.
he had to go through that. And maybe
Possibly.
on a soul level, the three of you had to go through that to sort of grow and evolve again. So there's all these things
It's
at
yeah.
play here too, you know. I am a big believer in that we sign up for some things in our life
Yeah.
before we get here. And that's obviously at play too. Everyone's on
I mean,
different levels.
that's actually a really good perspective. Like, too, like, did we choose to come here and have the like,
Yeah,
did Oliver choose to have me as his parent, as his
100%.
dad, to come to come at this exact time at this
Have
very
you been his
moment?
dad before?
Yeah. I don't know. It's that is an interesting
Mm.
question. It is
Or has
very
he been
interesting.
your dad in a past life, Tanner?
Yeah.
Or
I
was he
mean,
your brother or something? Like, there's so
yeah.
many things at play here. Like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Those past life regression stuff is interesting for
it
sure.
is. But we've been going for a bit now. So, Tanner,
Yes, we have.
if someone could, how can someone make a more informed decision? That's the question we'll finish with. If someone's listening to this right now that has been listening to us for a while, that are on that journey now of uncovering both sets of truths, how can someone make a more informed decision? What would be your advice to that person to make a more informed decision to A, take control of their own life, and to B, not be easily influenced by these external things that we've spoken
Yeah.
about today?
Yeah, great question. So I think the best way to set it up to make the informed decision is first make sure you're not getting put into that state of fear that I was talking about, right? Like I've touched on that a couple different times on this
Yeah.
podcast. Like that's what the system tries to get you put in that state of the state of fear. Then you're just not thinking right. When fear happens, your blood goes away from your brain, from your critical thinking part of your brain. It goes down to your arms, your legs, so you can run, stand your ground and fight, or you can take run and flight, or even like the fetal position. People talk about that, like the freeze, flight, fight, or freeze now. But you want to avoid that fear-based response. And one good way to do it is turn off the TV, turn off all that stuff. If you're watching something, you start to notice, hey, it's starting to trigger me, starting to make me feel a little more worried about the future. Turn that shit off. Replace it, start like delete that from your mind. You can use a really easy mental technique. Just imagine that thing was deleted off like a screen on your mind and it's gone, and then you have some kind, you know, bring something new into your mind, right? We are powerful with what we believe. So a great place to start is remove the fear and then look inwards, like Nathan was talking about, right? Touch base with what what you're feeling, what your intuition's telling you, because that is powerful. And then be open to both sides, right? Remember that you have a lot of programming within your mind. We all do. And that we're gonna be more predisposed to certain things just because of the way that we were raised or the things that we have seen within our lives. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's the right way or that's necessarily the truth. And ignorance is not bliss. If you're going to a situation and you don't know if you're making a decision for yourself or a loved one and you don't know why you're choosing the thing that you're choosing, I caution you just to do some research and look at both sides and make an informed choice. Because
Well said.
yeah,
And that's how
yeah,
powerful we are. So if you believe in something, why don't you believe in yourself and believe how powerful you are? Because that belief changes everything, changes the whole ball
oh yeah,
game. Tanner, thank you so much for sharing all you shared. So I didn't think we were going to go down the pregnancy route with that, but I'm so glad that came out today. Because for those
yeah,
out there that want to reach out
mhm,
to Tanner and he might have some resources or some information, reach out to him about all of that if you're in that phase of your
yeah,
life. Tanner and
mhm,
Madeline have done their homework. So definitely reach out to them. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer some questions.
yeah,
And
of course.
if there's resources that you would like to share in the show notes, Tanner,
Mhm,
flick them through. I'll put some resources in the show notes about a few of the things we spoke today so that you can sort of. Tanner and I aren't crazy. There is information out there. It's just hidden from you. So you've got to find that.
yep,
And we'll provide some information in the show notes about the things we spoke about today so you can start that journey of making an informed decision. Tanner, once again, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been the Breaking Free from Self-Sabotage Solutions collaboration. Tanner and I are out. We'll talk to you guys again soon. You have the power. You have potential. I see it. Tanner sees it. Once you see it, starts the fire. The fire gets going. The only person putting it out is you. It's you v you. You've got the power and the potential. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Cheers.